Hello, you guys. Welcome to Put 'em on Game Sports Podcast, where I'm giving you the most relevant topics in sports, as well as putting you on game with life lessons as well. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in to Put 'em on Game. We keep going up, man. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And I have another guest with me today. I have somebody that went from the Louisville basketball court to the Jefferson County Family Court. He is the first African American male to serve as a Louisville Family Court judge. I have with me Derwin Webb. How are you doing today, Judge Webb?
Sir, I'm fine, and thank you for having me on for today.
Oh, no problem, no problem. Thank you. And you went from being a basketball player to being a judge, and that's something that's you don't typically see that normally in athletes. And so how is that transition from going from the court to the court system?
It was a good transition. When I was little, I always wanted to be in law. Matter of fact, my father encouraged me to be a lawyer when I was very young. I remember going to someone saying I wanted to be a judge when I was in second grade, and everyone just laughed at me. So it just inspired me to want to do even more because people doubted that. But being a judge is like any other profession. You have to work hard at it. Anything worthwhile having is not going to be easy. Being a former athlete has its challenges, but you take those principles of hard work, dedication, being prepared for everything. You apply those same principles that you have on the basketball court to doing the same thing in court. You have to be prepared for the cases that come in front of you, have to deal with adversity, have to deal with sometimes have to deal with people that are going against you, even as a judge on the bench. So it's the same type of principles. I love what I do every day. I tell people all the time, if I was independently wealthy, I would do this job for free. It's the greatest job I could ever have, and I'm honored to be able to be in the position.
That's good. That's good. And talk about your playing days early back in the day when you were living in Indianapolis before you went to Louisville.
When I was in Indianapolis, I was a three-sport athlete. I was All-American football, basketball, and track. I had opportunities to go to any school basically I wanted to in all three sports. I chose basketball because of a couple of different reasons. One, I was pretty good at it. But two, a lot of people said that I could not play at the Division I high major level. Even though I did well in high school, people doubted my ability to go to college and do the same type of thing. So it was a challenge for me to do that. As far as football and track were concerned, I won state a few years in track for high jump. In long jump. I was on the football team, had scholarship offers from just about every major school in the country as well. But basketball seemed to resonate with me a little bit more. It was the one sport that always got my father's attention too. He was a big basketball fan, and when I started to become pretty good in basketball, it was always a joy to see him in the stands watching me play and run up and down that basketball court. So I always had a love for it. It was great to play. It was a great opportunity for me to play for my high school and eventually go into college and play the sport that both he and I loved.
And you went to the University of Louisville during the 80s and the 90s. And how was that during that time? And actually, why did you want to go to Louisville in the first place?
Well, Louisville was a couple of years removed from a national championship. So the caliber of players was very high. You have people like Purvis Ellison, who eventually was the #1 draft pick in the NBA draft when he was a senior. Kenny Payne, who's the current coach now, he was a teammate of mine. You had all stars and all Americans. Bradford Smith was a first round pick for the Washington Bullets at the time. Felton Spencer played for the Minnesota Timberwolves. He was a lottery pick. So there were a lot of great basketball players at the time, and the program was at a very high level at that time as well. I wanted to come here because I wanted to compete at the highest level and play with some of the greatest players and have an opportunity to play on a nationally known team. Also, it was only a couple hours away from my hometown. So I knew it was far enough away where my parents couldn't come and see me every day, but also close enough where if I wanted to get back, I could get back at any time because it was just a short distance as far as the drive was concerned. So it was a perfect match. Also, in the back of my mind, I knew that I wanted to go to law school. So if that NBA career didn't work out, I could always apply to go to law school and get accepted to that university's law school as well.
And so you were thinking the long game when you were thinking about Louisville. See, a lot of athletes, they think about they're thinking about going pro, whatever sport that they are in, they're not thinking about, that next career step in like whatever they're going for. They're thinking, oh, I'm going to go to the NBA or I'm going to go to the NFL. It doesn't matter what school. It doesn't matter. The school I want to go to is going to get me to that league. And you were thinking about you were a long-term career. And so you were thinking about the law school part as well as the basketball part for you. And, that's something that's really important. And people.
Well, I was going to say, I had my parents kind of pushing me too, even though neither one of my parents graduated from college. My mother has some college experience, and she always made education first and foremost. She talked about being a student athlete, and if you're going to be an athlete anywhere, you'd have to be a student first. So education was one of the hallmarks of the things that my parents talked about, making sure that education came first. Basketball was always going to be secondary. Now, if you made it well, athletically, great. But the ultimate goal was to graduate from the university and hopefully go to law school somewhere, and everything just seemed to work out because of everything they pushed me towards.
Mm-hmm. And also with the University of Louisville, you were coached by the legendary Denny Crum. How was that, and the impacts that he made, and how much does he mean to you?
Going to the University of Louisville and playing for Coach Crum was a bigger decision than I actually planned on. Obviously, I wanted to play at a high level, play for a quality basketball team and a very good basketball coach. Obviously, with him being a Hall of Fame coach and having had already won 2 national championships, I knew that I was going to be able to be coached by one of the best. But as far as what he taught me off the court, he taught me things that that still hold true for me today. You're not going to get your way all the time. I came in the program in a time when there were a lot of great student athletes there. So I didn't immediately get on the basketball court because I wasn't as good as everyone else. So it taught me the patience that I didn't always have. It taught me that you may be good, but there's someone just as good, and in a lot of cases better. So going to have to work as hard as you can just to be able to compete. So as I took those examples from my college playing days to the courtroom, there may be some attorneys in the courtroom that are better than you. So you have to try and figure out what you're going to do to make yourself just as good or better at your craft than them. So it taught me a lot of life lessons. He used to always talk about be quick, but don't hurry. I understand what that means now. He always talked about putting your best effort forward no matter who's looking. That taught me some things too. He always talked about you are going to play the same way you practice. For example, you're going to if you're practicing bad, you're probably going to play bad too. So if I am just going in a courtroom and just giving a half-ass way of putting it, half-ass effort going into it, that's what I'm going to get out when I'm trying to represent my clients. So it gave me a lot of life lessons that I took from the court and I still have with me today because of some of the lessons that he taught me.
Yeah, and with going to Louisville, you go to that school. When you're in high school, you're typically always the best athlete on the floor. When in high school, you're typically, the best player, and there's nobody better than you. It's not even close. Then you get to college, and that's literally every single one of the single members of the start of the basketball team. Everybody was the best player on their high school team. And so you have to separate yourself from the pack when you're doing that, because everybody was the best at one point in time. And so that helped you as well in college because you were like, well, I got to step my game up.
Correct. I know that when I first got there, we took our team picture, and I can go down that line, go down the photograph, and everyone that was in that picture was their state's all-star. For example, I was the Indiana All-Star. There were other Indiana All-Stars on that basketball team. Mr. Basketballs from their particular states. There were some All-Americans on from their particular their class as well. So it was a great basketball team. It was great competition. Practices were were hard, but it made it easier for the games because you're going up against an All-American every time you come into the lineup. And when I first got there, I honestly just wasn't good enough to get on that basketball court. I remember complaining to some of my teammates a couple times, I need to play more. I need to do this. I need to do that. And one guy in particular came up to me and said, well, let me ask you this. Who are you going to play in front of? And that hit me like a ton of bricks because he was right. I just wasn't good enough, which made me have to go into the gym, get there before everyone got there, not leave until after everyone left, put up some shots, work on my game. And finally, that next year, I actually did become a starter. But it took a lot of hard work just to get on that court.
Yes, sir. That's all it takes is hard work and dedication. And, becoming, a judge, that takes a lot of hard work and dedication. And, a lot of people, they don't know the process of becoming a judge. And I would like, for people to, know what it takes to become a judge in that and how the process goes with that. Cause I'm interested in how do you become a judge in like.
Well, obviously you have to graduate from a law school and pass the bar. So that's the first key step. But as far as actually becoming a judge, there are a couple of ways you can become a judge. You can win an election, put your name in the hat, go through the election process, go through possibly a primary or general election and have the people vote you in. Or you can be put in place, be appointed by a governor. I actually was appointed by the governor back in 2017, but that next year I had to run to keep my seat. So you're going to either be appointed or you can be elected by the people. But either way, the people of the county or the people of the precinct where you are, they're going to have to keep you in that seat no matter what. So I was very fortunate to have the appointment of Governor Bevin back in 2017. The next year was an election year, and someone wanted to run against me to keep my seat. Fortunate enough for me, I was able to run and keep that seat. But it was a long run to get there. It was very hard because I thought about becoming a judge a long time ago, but didn't actually go through the process until 2010. 2010, there was a vacancy. I put my name in. And the governor chooses who he wants to be that person after it's narrowed down by a group of people. I was shortlisted 2 times, 2010, 2012. I didn't get it either time. I decided to run in 2014. I lost in the election in 2014. So it was a long process for me. It wasn't as easy as it was maybe for someone else who either got appointed and got an opportunity to keep their seat without having to run against someone or just win an election outright. Mine took almost 8 years to actually get in the seat after I actually initially started it.
And when you lost your first 2, how was it? It was disappointing. I know that for sure. Did it and I know it didn't discourage you at all, because obviously you persevered away and found a way to be able to get to it 8 years later. But was it tough losing twice in a row, or did it make you want to give up even a little bit?
But dude, I was devastated. I'm not going to lie to you. I was devastated. And I didn't actually lose as much as I wasn't appointed the first couple of times. So I wasn't appointed the first couple of times. I got shortlisted by a group called the Judicial Nominating Commission. There were maybe 200 or 300 people that would put their name in the hats. People would look at their resumes. They get shortlisted down to 3, and the governor would go in and appoint those people from the 3 that he had to select from. Unfortunately, he did not choose me at that time. So I just said to myself, well, if he's not going to choose me, I'm going to let the people of Jefferson County do it themselves. So I went through that process. You put your name in and you go through the campaign process. And I'm thinking, feeling pretty good about myself. I'm a former basketball player for the University of Louisville. I had won some pretty high profile cases. So I'm thinking that, hey, I have a great shot. It wasn't meant to be. So after going through that process, I wasn't just disappointed, I was devastated. I actually said to a couple people that I will never do this again for the rest of my life. Never, ever. So it was a few years later, it had gone by. someone persuaded me to put my name in the hat again to have the governor appoint. So I put my name in the hat again, and I get shortlisted, and he chooses somebody else. So I said, this is a sign from God that this is never going to happen. I'm never doing this again. And I remember driving to a park. I had just had a real bad day in court. So I remember driving to a park, and I got a phone call from a judge, and she let me know that she was about to retire. She was taking her papers to Frankfurt, and she was going to suggest that I take her spot. And I said, no. I said, I'm not going through this stuff again. I probably did say
not 3 times.
I'm not going through this again. She said, just put your name in. I said, I'm not doing that application again. I said, I've gone through it. I don't know how many times. It doesn't make any sense. And I'm just setting myself up for failure. She said, just put your name in. I said, I'm not failing. She said, I'll tell you what, you get your old application, you change the date, and just send the same thing back in. And I did. And I go through the process. This time, they asked for the top 3 to go to the governor's office for an interview. And I was fortunate enough to be one of the top 3. I go to the governor's office for an interview, and I interviewed with his cabinet at that time. They asked me, why do I want to be a judge? They asked me, who's my favorite judge? They asked me all the questions. They said, what's going to happen if we don't select you? I said, well, this hasn't happened ever before. I said, I'm going to keep living like I have before. I said, you're not going to disappoint me. I said, I've been so disappointed in the past that there's nothing you can do that will faze me. But if you don't select me, I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing, trying to help out people, because whether I become a judge or not, this decision, your decision, is not going to define me. So I was a little defiant going in. You ever seen the movie Shawshank Redemption?
Yeah, I seen that.
Well, he goes in for his final parole, and Morgan Freeman's character basically says, look, you're going to do it, or you're not going to do it. At this point, I don't even care. And I actually went into the meeting with that same type of attitude. And lo and behold, I don't mind saying I'm a registered Democrat, and a Republican governor actually appointed me to be in that position. So I knew it could only be God. And it was my time to be in that seat.
That's good. And that shows a lot of perseverance. A lot of people, they feel like that door is closed. They feel like another door is not going to open for them. They believe, getting rejected, they're not going to be able to have the opportunity. And you persevered, and you were able to finally see it through. And I appreciate that. A lot of people that look like us, they don't become judges, and it wasn't easy for you to become a judge, and you ended up seeing it through and becoming one. And that's a lot of perseverance. That's a lot of hard work and dedication. And I'm proud of you for that. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you saying that. But I would tell you this, and I'll be honest with you and the listeners. Just because you get in the seat doesn't mean that you have arrived. You may have the robe, you may have the title, but things are still tough. I remember very vividly, some of my colleagues at the time did not care for me being on the bench. I had a couple people that actually were judges that were actually helping my opponent at the time running to beat me in my own election. I know, as a judge, being the first African-American male family court judge, not only in Jefferson County, but in the state of Kentucky, I get appealed probably as much or more than anyone else because they don't agree with my decisions. I've been reversed just one time since I've been on the bench. So, you'd like to think that it's a great opportunity, and it is great to be the first to walk through those doors. But while I walk through those doors, I still carry the weight of other people that have been there before me, people that are coming behind me, and it's a tough task. But I'm willing to have those broad shoulders because I know that I carry something and I hold a responsibility that a lot of people have not had, but I'm willing to do it for us.
And I'll also like to talk to you about a little bit about your time at Louisville. What was your favorite moments while at the University of Louisville, on and off the court?
Favorite moments at the University of Louisville, probably on the basketball court, was probably getting a chance to start for the first time. I remember when they called my name in the starting lineup, it had been so hard to work. It was a hard journey to get to that point where I was actually in the starting lineup. So I'll never forget that moment. So that was probably the best day athletically. As far as being in Louisville at the University of Louisville, probably the biggest joy I've ever had was actually graduating from college, knowing that my parents were there. My parents were there to see it. My father was alive at the time, be able to see me walk across the stage and accept that diploma, being the first of my family to graduate from college, not being the first to go, but the first one to actually graduate, and know that I did it not only for myself, but for my family in Indianapolis and Tennessee as well. It was a great joy that I didn't really understand, really couldn't understand at that time, but knowing now what it meant to so many people just to see me walk across that stage and graduate meant a lot to them as well. So those were probably two of my best moments.
And college basketball season, it is around the corner. And, is there any teams that you're keeping an eye on other than the Cardinals?
I'm always looking to see what they're doing down with that team in Lexington.
That's looking like a very interesting team right there. They look very deep.
They are always deep. They're always well coached. I'm always checking to see what the Wildcats are up to. But I also look at my home state of Indiana. I'm a Indiana guy, born and raised in Indianapolis. Followed IU basketball. One of my friends, Mike Woodson, is the coach there now. He had a pretty successful season last year, and he has some good recruits coming in this year as well. Had a lot of friends that went to that university. So I love being able to watch those teams play, and that's another team I kind of look out for.
There's a team to look out for in Bowling Green, Kentucky, West Kentucky University. They got actually one of IU's transfer guys, Christian Landers. He's now at West Kentucky, and then they also have another transfer from the University of Kentucky, Dante Allen. He's a Kentucky guy, and they have another Kentucky guy as well from Hopkinsville, Kentucky, Jamarian Sharp. WKU, they're looking like they could make a run to be one of the best teams in the state this year.
I'm looking out for that team too. I also know that University of Louisville plays them in December.
Oh yeah, I will be there.
I'll be there too. I will be there too.
I'll meet you there. Don't meet me there. Be me there. Yeah, I'm gonna be cheering. I'm cheering on my Hilltoppers that day.
That's cool. I would tell you this. This is Kenny Payne's first season at the University of Louisville. He's put in a new offense. There are 7 new players on the basketball team. We are going to be a formidable basketball team at some point. Right now, we're going to take some lumps. I'm hoping that we are very competitive throughout the season. Hope we beat Western Kentucky. I will tell you that. But
you guys don't.
But we're going to be a team that other programs will be looking at in the next couple of years about the model program in NCAA basketball.
But I will say I do love Kenny Payne. He was at the University of Kentucky. I hear great things about him. Just being a overall great guy, and now he's back at his alma mater. It's great to see, because now he's finally got this opportunity to do his thing as a head coach at the highest level. And it should be interesting to see how Louisville does in the future years. I expect great things out of them.
Yeah, I think they'll have an interesting season. I'm glad to have that cloud from over our heads taken away this week, and I look forward to that game against against my team and your team.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. I can't wait for that. And also, I want to talk about a little bit about what you do around the city, and also you have a podcast as well. I see you. We talked about earlier yesterday.
I do have a podcast. You can get it on Facebook or on YouTube. It's called A Matter of Perspective with Judge Derwin and Webb. We interview a lot of different people around the city, a lot of people around the country, talking about different issues, different topics that are relevant for today. I've had people on the show like Mark Spears, who was with the NBA, and he's a senior writer for Sports Illustrated as well. I've had people on the show from NFL and former NFL players, NBA players. I've had former mayors on the show. I have a lot of different people with a lot of different backgrounds to add to the collective thoughts of what makes what's going to make this world a better place. Whether it's just what they can do in Louisville, what they can do throughout the world. So it's a great opportunity just to get people, get their perspective on things. I just ask the questions and I just let them go from there. And so it's a good time to be able to do that for our community. As far as what I do is, other things, I love kids. I'm a family court judge and I love kids. So I like getting out in the community and talking to kids about different things, talking to kids about being better citizens, how they can make their way in the world, make their mark on this world. Because at some point I'm starting to get old. I need somebody that's going to take care of me. So I want to make sure that people are going in the right direction.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, tune into his podcast, man. Hey, don't just listen to me. I like to, expand my horizons too. I like to be able to listen to different things. And I feel like everybody should too as well. And I'm doing this new thing called Put You On. And every episode, I'm going to put you guys on to different things, brands, logos, different businesses that I associate myself with. And I'm associating myself with him. And I also have another podcast I want to put out there. I want to put you guys on to. It's called Minutes with Miles. He's a really good bruh. He's a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated with me. His name is Miles Austin. He has Miles Mentor. And he has a podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts called Minutes with Miles. I want you guys to tune into that as well. And I want to thank you guys, for tuning in to Put 'em All Game Sports Podcast, where I'm giving you the most relevant topics in sports, as well as putting you guys on game as well. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Derwin, Judge Webb, and thank you for all that you do, and keep on serving the community very well and making everybody proud. Thank you guys so much. This is Jaden Sanders and Judge Webb signing out.